My name is Jason Lord. I'm the MC for the evening. Hold for applause. 2, 3, 4. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thank you for Dakota Stage for having us. This is night number 1 of the Laugh and Jam Fest. Tomorrow night is music. Everyone should come back. Only $10. Some great live bands. But tonight we've got comedy. Closing out the show, nationally renowned Las Vegas comedian, man-child Stefano. And then before him, regionally specific, homegrown comedian, Jeff Allen. My name is Jason Lord. I am not a stand-up comedian. I'm actually a writer from Chicago. But I am from Bismarck Band, and originally, I don't come back that often, but Amber, and actually, before we get started, can we just give one more round of applause for Amber Ray Bernhardt, who put this show together. It was very difficult. She did a great job organizing her event, so thank you, Amber. The lovely Amber and I actually used to live together when she lived in Chicago. We had the division of labor. She always did the dishes and the laundry, and I emceed variety nights. So I agreed one last time for old time's sake to do it tonight. I'm very happy to be here. I don't get back very often. I forget when I come back just how, what's the word, white the town is. It's very white. It's like a Taylor Hicks audience married a Dane Cook audience. And then they went to a Protestant bake sale and talked about last night's episode of The Office. It's very Caucasian. It's also very non-confrontational. I forget how much people don't like to disagree here. People go way out of their way to make sure that they're not disagreeing. And in fact, there's only one mode of communication that you can really disagree with somebody, and that's a Peen Calvin bumper sticker. That's the one way you can express your disapproval about anything. You cannot do it in polite conversation, but you can take the signifier, put it on a bumper sticker, and have Calvin pee on it, and that's okay. Which I've never quite understood. It seems like a limiting form of communication. It's kind of not very nuanced. Jason, what do you think of the approval to extend the Bush-era tax cuts for people making over $250,000? Calvin should pee on it. What about Jonathan Franzen's latest novel? Well, it's not really Calvin pissing material, but maybe if Calvin pulled up his pants afterwards a little too quickly and left a little pee stain on his khakis. I don't know if that can be represented on a bumper sticker somehow, but that's kind of where I am on that one. I was at a diner just earlier today in Mandan, actually. Because you guys probably don't realize this unless you have lived outside of North Dakota, but NEFLA doesn't exist anywhere except North Dakota. This is the only place you can get NEFLA. Yeah, absolutely. It's called NEFLA. That's quite real. So every time I come back, I have to clog my arteries as quickly as possible with Flesh People and NEFLA and bars, because those things don't exist. So I was out there, just shamelessly stuffing my gullet, and I looked out and I noticed something, which is that nobody exists, and this might be just Mandan, but nobody exists between the ages of 20 and 30. I don't know why that is. There's young people, and there's waiting to die, but there's nobody in between. Because I looked around, and there's the girls between like 16 and 22, and those girls, they're always the same. They're always hot. They've got they got their little lip or ring stud right here, and the streaked hair, and the too much lip gloss, and they're horrible people that I would never want to associate with. And I'm like a B-52 bomber to them. I don't exist. I just play. I'm just to them. I don't exist. So there's those people, and then blank. And then on the other end, you come out this side, you're 35, and you're plump, and every day appears to be laundry day. And you've got the same haircut. All the women have the same haircuts. The blonde highlight with the Sun King spikes coming out the back. And I don't know what's happening in between those years, if they're just sequestering them and in a basement and force feeding them Cheetos and roll-ups and sucking away their will to live? I want to save them. There's an alternative. But I haven't been around, so I don't know the answer. But actually, segue, somebody who might know the answer is the next comedian. He's performed all around the Midwest region. He's got all kinds of new material for you tonight, first time. He's performed just recently at the Fargo Comic Festival with headliners at names on Showtime, HBO, and Comedy Central, all kinds of big deal kind of things. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up to Mr. Jeff Allen.
Black glove, someone lost up here on stage. It's gonna be the lost and found. Thanks for coming out! Give yourself a round of applause, man. Comedy at the Dakota stage. That's totally unheard of, right? I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a little nervous tonight. Because this is gonna be one of my cleanest shows I've ever done. Because in light of Bismarck and the Dakota stage and the birth of the king, I'm gonna clean it up tonight for y'all. I mean, literally, because the last place I played was called Harry's House of Pussy, okay? And they don't really censor much shit there. So I'm gonna let off the F-bombs, and I'm gonna keep it clean for y'all tonight. So, and honestly, my rating is normally like an NC-17, borderline X. A couple girls got pregnant in my last show. But tonight, it's gonna be like PG-13, borderline R. You know, okay, you know, everyone's gonna be able to handle it. So y'all ready for some comedy? Good. Well, I think I know everybody here, right? Okay, good. All right, sweet. So yeah, holidays, the birth of the king. Anyone got holiday plans? What's going on? Anything eccentric happening? No? Everyone's just like shaking their head. Nothing too new for the holidays. Well, I'll tell you something. This is true. I came back a month early, and I was doing a lot of comedy on the road and whatnot. My sister does a lot of nonprofit work, and I was like, I got a lot of free time because I'm working on my night moves. And I was like, I'm going to do some Christmas nonprofit stuff because I've been just talking about it all year instead of just like writing a check or whatever. I'm like, I'm going to go get gritty and do canned drives and whatever, but I didn't do any canned drives. Anyway, I went to the zoo, and I was one of Santa's helper for pictures with the kids. That was pretty nice. It was fun. And then I went to do the bell shaking at the Salvation Army, like at the mall. And I was thinking, oh man, I'm just going to clean up on people watching and material, right? I got nothing. I got nothing, I swear to God. Like, the only thing I got was just people were really nice around Christmas time around here. I was like blown away. I was literally like, oh, I'm going to get so much material. And people were just like overly generous, like Merry Christmas. I was like, damn it. So, I got nothing. I just was like, Bismarck's a great town and people are super nice here. So, and I got real Christmassy, you know? Whoa. I was like kind of feeling like, we'll just do this ordeal and we'll get through it. Now I'm kind of just, I'm like, hey, Merry Christmas. I'm like bringing wreaths places and turkeys and shit. It's crazy. Like I'm all jollier now. It's weird. So, speaking of being jollier, I went to a holiday Christmas party the other night and got a little too much eggnog, you know. I don't know what the hell they put in it, like absinthe or like LSD or what the hell they put in it, dude. But I came home and I was like, oh, I gotta drink some water and watch a show, you know? I gotta just settle down. So, what better to watch than the History Channel, right? History Channel's a great program. Everyone loves the History Channel. I mean, here's why the History Channel's great. It's like, I watched a 3.5-hour documentary 2 weeks ago about screws, okay? Screws. Like, I had no idea that was such a game changer in the human race, but we'd be fucked without screws. So, I'm just gonna say it. They couldn't say that on the History Channel, but I'm gonna say it tonight. Anyway, back to blind, drunk, eggnog, 4 quarts of bourbon in it, whatever. I'm laying down, I'm watching this History Channel documentary, and it's like, history's conspiracies. Everyone loves conspiracies, right? And I was like, whether it's JFK, aliens, gravity, dinosaurs, whatever it is, people are different about it. They got their opinions, you know? So this part of the documentary, it's like, I had no idea about this. I'm just going to explain this to you. Did you guys know that Santa Claus was in the CIA during the Cold War? You don't know this shit? I was like floored. I was like, you better convince me on this one. I was hooked. Couldn't believe it. All the facts just started to add up and everything. Seriously, like they had these cheesy reenactments with like the room and like, the Pentagon, like the generals all sitting there, like files, and like, gentlemen, we're losing to communism. It's time to call our special operative. But sir, give me Chris Kringle. We haven't used it since the Civil War, sir. I don't care what it takes. Give me Santa Claus. So it happened, and then they started adding up the facts. I'm like, okay, great reenactments, this is kind of bullshit, right? No, then it started making sense, right? They were like, that red phone that's at the Pentagon, and like the president has, it goes directly to the North Pole. I swear to God, I had no clue about that. I was like, that calls the president. Doesn't. That phone goes to the North Pole. Or to the president to the North Pole, which is Reddit. Another one is like, like during Christmas, they're like, sleigh sightings. Can you explain sleigh sightings? May 1967, Saigon over the Golden Triangle. Can you explain that? Because I sure as hell can't. Another thing is the government's always like, Santa Claus, oh, he ain't real. Of course he's not real. They don't want him to exist. It's perfect. You know what I mean? We all know he's out there. Fighting for freedom, because these colors don't run. Right? Oh, it's good to have Santa Claus on our side, right, people? So, anyway, that was one of my holiday jokes. I know you didn't figure that out, but that was my holiday joke. I had to bring notes up here because I have to do a long act tonight. Part of my act is sleeping, so it's the tail end. You guys are going to love that. So, I've been doing comedy on the road. I was in Minneapolis for about 4 weeks, like doing UFC comedy battles on stage, basically trying to fight for my existence, which was fun. You guys know those tourism ads where they're like, Minnesota nice, and it shows all those lakes and like father and son fishing, and it's like, it's the greatest place on earth, right? Minnesota nice. I'm gonna tell you something. I had my first Minnesota nice moment. I was going to a deli with my roommate, who's another comedian. And we're walking in there, and there's this old lady just kind of like hobbling along with like a walker, kind of doing this, like old ladies and walkers do, right? All of a sudden, like bat out of hell, one of those like old people mover vans just like comes in, pulls a block ahead of another car, rolls the window down, and he's like, hey Agnes, come on already! Lays on the horn. Just had to kind of like really, like between the walker and the car, just really? Like what? You couldn't have pulled up like 12 more feet to pick her up, and then she starts like kicking it up, like really like kicking it up in the walker, and I was like, oh my god, Minnesota nice. Right? Everyone has people out there, nice as hell, right? I mean, to be fair to the driver, I don't know the whole situation. Maybe she's a real bitch. I don't know. I'm not a driver. I have no idea. I don't know what the relationship is like, but he was pissed that day. Another crazy observation, I did like this corporate event. There's this benefit dinner, and they serve all 3-course meals and stuff. And at the end of this thing, I'm talking to this other comedian, and this lady's coming out with a catering tray, and she's got all this cake on it, right? She's just running around shuffling cake out to everybody, making sure everyone gets their cake, right? Comes over our table, I'm having a conversation, just starts nudging us. She's nudging in, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? She's like, you want a piece of this? A cake? Yeah. Take a piece of cake. Thank you so much. What the hell was going on? Are we talking about cake? Serious lady though, but everyone was fed and it was a beautiful evening, so thank God. Another crazy event I did, this was crazy because I said I was nervous tonight, and I was actually more nervous for this event. A few of my friends were at this one, because there was only like 300 ladies and like 2 of my friends, and that's it. Okay, because it was a breast cancer benefit. So I'm a struggling comedian, living the dream. It's a broke dream. But anyway, and they're always like, hey, your name came up. We want you to do a breast cancer benefit. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll totally do that. And then I start like thinking about it, and I get these emails, and they're like, okay, so here's what's going to happen. There's 300 women. You're going to follow a breast cancer testimonial confessional, and then you're up. And you're the only comedian. Go get them. I was like, and keep it clean. And there's 300 ladies. I was like, oh my God. So I'm just like starting to get really like, oh man, I got no jokes. They're gonna just get me off stage. They're gonna hate me. Last 2 seconds before I went on stage, there was a radio DJ running the event. Like, just to let you know, we were watching YouTube clips all day, and they loved it, so you could do whatever you want. Like last minute, I was like, what? I was like, yeah, do whatever you want, cut loose. So I just went out there and just lit the Richard Pryor fire, and it was just like, throw that flame out there. I was like, oh, ready for some hardcore comedy? I was going like, yeah! I was like, all right! But this is the cool thing about the show, is this is the only show I could ever open with where I said I love tits. So this lady, you know, everyone's got a dry eye in the room, everyone's crying, it's all sad. I'm like, I gotta bring these people up a notch. Came up, did the intro, thanks for coming out, breast cancer, and I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna say this right now, this is my testimonial. I love tits. A's, B's, C's, D's, E's, all sorts of tits. I start getting carried away. I'm like, love cat tits, dog tits, udders, I love milk. And they're just going nuts, they're loving it. And then I was like, hey, I got really carried away. I was like, the first thing I ever masturbated to was the thing from Total Recall with 3 tits. They go nuts. They're like, yeah! They're like, tits! I was like, I like dates. It was amazing. I never felt so comfortable after feeling so nervous, like right now. But it was fun, you know? You know who else really likes tits? Howard Stern. Guy loves tits. You ever watch a show on E or like Sirius? Like every time a woman walks into that studio, it's the same program, isn't it? Like you could have Zsa Zsa Gabor, 87 years old, come out of her coma, walk into the set. It's just like, listen up. I'm gonna give you an Xbox 360 and a Best Buy gift card for $200 if you take off your top. Oh, Bobby Booey, what? No, seriously. 2 Xbox 360s. Show us your tits. Anyway, but yeah, Howard Stern, man, loves tits. So, doing these shows, breast cancer benefits. By the way, Jason Lord, does he remind you of Jack Lord from Hawaii Five-0? I swear to God, he looks just like Jack Lord. It's just a name. Anyway, he was talking about the Fargo show. And this is kind of interesting because I was like, it really went to my head. I was like, wow, your name's on like a marquee, and you're doing this big show, and all these bigger comedians than you'll be performing with. It was amazing, right? So I get the dressing room, and like my name's on the star, right? So I was like, oh shit, I've made it. This is it. You made it, dude. Name's on the star in the dressing room. And I walked into that dressing room. Took me down a notch a little bit because there was a Mackenzie Aston poster on the wall. And everyone's like, who the fuck is Mackenzie Aston? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It was during the early 90s, during the Balto White Fang craze, with like every movie about a boy and his wolf. Well, there was a movie called Iron Will with some like teenage heartthrob that hasn't like killed himself yet, and he's got a poster at the Fargo Theater being like, best wishes, thanks for keeping my poster up. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I was like, it gets worse. I start going to the other comedians that are much bigger than me, and it's like fucking Beach Boys, like Elvis Costello, all in their room. It's like Richie Valens. I was like, oh, I got Mackenzie Aston like solo turd photo in the corner. Like, God, it took me down a notch. I became shamed that night. So, anyway. Oh man, my back has been hurting. Is anyone a chiropractor? Seriously, man. Pain. It's all this lumbar up here. But anyway, oh, Jesus, that's terrible. No more of that. Okay. Well, this next joke, I kind of have to sit down on this mic stand. It's horrible. So I'm just going to kind of get readjusted here in a sec. All right. So, I wasn't always a comedian. I know. Just walked out of the womb doing comedy. Just doing it all. Anyway, I was doing stand-up, but before this, I used to work at a wired Verizon. I was a retail person. It's glamorous, very glamorous. And there's like 12 locations in town, but I worked at like the deadest location. Like seriously, I felt like I was like a private in the military, and at basic training, I punched the general, and then I got demoted to like an Alaskan watchtower. That's pretty much what I felt. But that asshole sees more people than me. So anyway, average day for me, I get to this dead location, no one's there, no employees show up there, people don't show up there, okay? It's just like a dead, like science fiction movie lot. It's just like, scary shit. So you show up there, do a couple work emails, do a Facebook, watch some 21 Jump Street on Hulu, take a piss, have a donut, get through Starbucks, make a few phone calls, do some facts. After all that's done, I still got about 8 hours left. So But this time I'm like, what can I do to fuck with the next person that walks in here? So I'm so bored, and I mean, it's not about money anymore, it's about humor. So I'm gonna do a little pantomime. Basically, what happens when the sorry son of a bitch walks through the door after I've been alone for 7 hours. Okay, here it is. I'm not a rock comic. Okay. Door opens. Are you the only guy in here? Oh, okay, that was weird. I was just wondering, this is Verizon, right? Could you look up something on my account? Because I think my daughter had some origins with texting. Okay, I don't know why you're ignoring me and why you keep looking at me weird and doing that balloon thing, and I don't know what's going on. This is like a weird episode of The Twilight Zone. Alright, I'm pretty pissed off now. I guess I'm going to go across the street to Best Buy because there's real human beings over there. Thank you so much for your help. About the time when he gets to the door, I get a little compassionate, and I'm like, next! Best part is that he starts getting like, what the hell was that? Like a second ago with the blank stare and the balloon, what's wrong with you? Is there something really wrong with you? Pardon me, sir, I was on my break. I can't get in the store. I don't know that. Won't bring up that. Yeah. So that was one of the jobs I had before I became a comedian. Before I decided to pursue this glamorous life. Another job I had before I moved back to Bismarck is I used to do data phone installations. I used to do like cabling, like a Target or Walmart, whatever needs to get cabled. I'd be the goon they'd throw up in the ceiling tiles to like make sure a rat wouldn't get there or some shit. Anyway, so all of them were the same. But the nice thing is, it was shitty work, but they put you up in like A-class accommodations. First class, you get like a really nice hotel, whatever, so the job made up for it. So this one job that was in Orlando, right? And I was like, this is when I started to get out of business, by the way. I was like, I flew to Orlando, first class flight, no problem. Way back, we're at the terminal, and the lady from Delta's like, hey, we have a little problem. If anyone's willing to give up their first class seat, we'll give up 2 free round-trip tickets. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm like the only idiot, by the way, running up there to exchange my ticket. I'm the only person. Just starting to feel weird. I'm like, I'll do it, right? As I slowly turn around, I start to notice there's like a familiar potpourri around me, and I was like, oh my God. What have you just signed on for, Jeff? It's like all children, like age range from infant to 3 years old. I didn't even see any parents. It was like a daycare flight. I was literally like, okay, so I'm going to coach. This can't be that bad. Like, whatever, kids, right? Everyone's got kids. I'll handle this, right? Walking back there, go to my seat. I'm like, oh my God, I got the window, and there's an open seat. Lucky me. So lucky, right? I was just feeling like top of the world on this huge flight full of kids. Wrong. Let me tell you what happened. The dad's like, oh, look, we got an open seat. Let's put little Savannah over there. So little Savannah, my new best friend on the flight, and like 15 other kids that I'm going to get to here pretty soon, sitting right next to me, and literally, like, total FFA regulation breaker. Just going off on the seatbelt the whole time. She's like, shouldn't be in a seatbelt. She's like an infant, just going off. I'm like, don't do that. On top of that, I got like little kids under my ankles, grabbing my ankles. Literally, I'm like, what's happening here? I feel like I'm in a crazy chair, this kid's grabbing the back of my head. I'm trying to turn my iTunes up to just keep looking out the window, like, this isn't happening. Like, just ignore it, just keep looking out. It was so horrible. I felt like Gandhi in 1931 in a civil rights sit-in. It was just like, but the British people weren't pelting shit at me. It was children, and it was horrible. And then the thing is, his parents were just like, oh, kids, you know, right? So it gets a little worse, okay? I'm sitting there, keep turning the music up, keep upping. So then I started noticing like a horrible scent. I was like, what could that be? Did this get any worse? I looked to my left, and 3 feet from me, there was a 4-year-old with a diaper on, okay? That's troubling. Pulls the pants down, and he's got a huge shit in there, and the mom is changing him in the aisle because both bathrooms are full. Oh, so I'm like, back to the window, this isn't happening, don't look. Then I start could hear a lady screaming, who's an old lady who's like, oh my God! Because it smells like shit on the whole flight. She goes to her poop purse and pulls out a lady's Stetson sample. Like some terrorist thing. I don't even know how she got this on the plane. She just starts spraying it. It smells like shit and lady Stetson on the whole plane. And the kids never flinch. She's still pulling my hand. Never break. I'm just like, this is not happening. This is not happening. I was like, hopefully an engine will go up. We'll all die. This generation will never make it. I'm just like, this is Lord of the Flies with Rugrats. This is unbelievable. So it was terrible. And of course the flight attendant's like, you can't do that. She's trying to reprimand everybody. We got home safely, okay? It's all over. The guy I worked with, we get to the baggage claim, he's like, dude, what the fuck was going on back there? He's like, you don't want to know. I called my mother after that flight, and I was like, you were the best mother ever. Because you would never, ever let me get away with shit like that on a plane. And it's like, just run free. And I'm like, well, color your fucking book. It would have been like, just like, seriously, like, you don't move. There's a one-time bathroom trip. You sit there and watch your brother. That's your job. Like, I would have been like, there's no aisle. You don't get to walk around. Like, seriously, this was just like, kids were coming out of the damn, like, overhead compartments, for Christ's sakes. I mean, it was horrible. Horrible. Anyway, so I'm out of that traveling job now. I used to work at 7-Eleven. Thank you. Okay. I was in the convenient arts. That's right. So it was a short-lived career of mine. I worked. It was hard because I turned 21 and it's just like I needed a job right away. But this job was a curse. Okay, like beyond most jobs because. For instance, I'm working there, my roommate's like, he works at Domino's, he's like, oh man, that place is gonna get robbed, Jeff. You're gonna get totally shot up there. I'm like, thanks again, $9 an hour. I was just like thrilled, you know what I mean? And it was the second day of work that I'm sitting there, and Ananda, who speaks absolutely no English, this guy I'm working with, who's like, I'm gonna have a cigarette in his language, like just goes off. He's gone for like 20 minutes, right? And I'm like, this place hasn't been dead much. I was like, well, it's really dead right now. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, God, it's really boring. And then all of a sudden, where like the hot dog Slurpee signs are, I start seeing like these tops of these like SWAT team guns or some shit, just like a fucking musical. Like, what am I seeing here? And all of a sudden, the door kicks open, the sheriff's got like guns, he's like, ah! Just freaking out, putting guns everywhere. I'm just like, hearts out of my body, just like, okay, bunch guns at me, don't know. He's like, are you in danger? Do you work here? I'm like, second day. He's like, he has the gun on me. He does one of these like Midwest things. He's like, oh shit. And he just puts the gun away. He's like, got it all off. He's like, this is all false alarm. He's fine. They thought, because I was the new guy, these guys with the donuts there every morning, that I, like, first of all, the alarm company effed up and triggered the alarm. So the protocol is like, get the SWAT team in my helicopters and kick the door open. Okay? And I found that out on the second day. But they didn't know me, so they're like, that guy must have probably taken the clerk hostage and put the outfit on and played it like an idiot, like he works there. And they just came in there. But the best part is Carson's working at Domino's, like flipping pizzas and shit. You see like SWAT vests going on, like helicopters. I'm just sitting in there like, just like nothing happened. Carson's like, well, that's too bad for Jeff, man. It looks like some hairy shit happening over there. But thank God I wasn't shot and no one died. And it was a good dribble, you know? And then, so I worked there 3 months. A month later, you get the regulars, they come in all the time. There's this construction worker crew, and they all come in and they're just like, hey, you know, what's up? You know, and you're always chatting with them. Same kind of day, they're just chatting with you. This one guy goes like, hey, Irv, you paying for my hot dog today? And he's like hell I am. He's like, you goddamn motherfucker. Just start beating the shit out of each other. In the 7-Eleven, like right in front of me. Like a UFC, WWE cage match in front of everybody. Like the line, like using the nacho machine to like body slam people on, just like kicking people. I'm like, I'm calling the cops. I'm just like going over, calling the police. That's part of the story is the cops came and the owner was there, and then they just paid for all the damages and went to the hospital. They're just like, oh, you know, friends. I'm just like, oh my God. It was just crazy. So then this was the last 7-Eleven story, and this is great. I was hanging out with some of my buddies drinking and stuff, and they leave my house, and they're like, hey bro, you should check out that 7-Eleven where you work. There's a fucking hole in it. Okay, I'll go walk up the street and check it out. Sure enough, I go up there, and a girl drove her car through where I worked. Drove it all the way through it, like her Jeep Cherokee. It was unbelievable. Like right when we get there, she's just like scooping the glass off. She's like, you must all be excited. There's just shit everywhere, like black panels. There's just like Freon leaking and stuff. There's like 8-foot tire tracks. Bill, the Vietnam vet who was working at the time, I was like, Bill, what the hell was that like? He's like, I was back on the gun deck. I watched this footage and that car just comes ripping through and shit just flies everywhere. Best part of the story, I had to work at 7. We never closed. Ever. You could buy gas and cigarettes. Those really wasn't destroyed. The whole day was like, what happened? What happened? Like for the umpteenth time, someone drove a fucking car through here. Like, Jesus. Like, really? Like, no, I'm putting you on. There's just shit everywhere. What's he gonna say? Like, why are you open? I'm like, I don't know. Because we never close. You want some cigarettes? Do you want some gas? Or do you just need information? I was like, oh my God. Right? So 7-Eleven's a good time. So I'm going to talk about my personality a little bit. People probably know this about me. Well, first of all, there's a lot of comedians out there that are like haters. And they're like, I hate this and I hate that. And like, fuck the world and all this stuff. It's like, no. I only hate like 3 things on this whole planet. Like, that's it. I mean, it might kind of explain a lot of my OCD stuff, but just I'll explain it to you all. So there's 3 things I hate, and I'm going to go through them all, and you'll understand. Okay. First one. Glitter. Right? And especially during this time of year. My God, Christmas, there is glitter everywhere. Oh my God, cards. It's just like, you can't even wrap a present without being covered in glitter, dude. Like, you can go to Walmart and you loot with glitter on you. Here's why I hate it. It's manufactured dust. Okay, can someone explain that to me? Like, seriously, it actually serves no point. Like, you could go, like, I mean, here's the thing. I love women, right? But, like, here's the thing. If I went to a strip club and, like, a woman was covered in glitter, I'd, like, throw up. And she, like, came over and it'd, like, it'd just be the end of the world. If I got, like, an award ceremony and they shot cannons of glitter on me, I'd explode. Like, seriously, like, let's show Jeff Allen! It's like, horrible, okay? There's jokes where people are like, I'm Tinkerbell for Halloween. We're going to glitter bomb Jeff. My friends send me pictures of glitter, and they're like, isn't that funny? And I'm like, it's not. Okay. So, next thing, you guys probably are going to be like, I understand the glitter thing. This thing you guys are going to be like, what is he talking about? I hate casseroles. Like, with passion. Like, and I know in North Dakota, it's just like, let's jam a bunch of shit in a pan and feed it to our kids, because it's 5 o'clock. But my God. Like, growing up, I had some casseroles with, like, fish bones and apple cores in it and shit. And it was sick. I mean, people are like, oh, it's a hot dish. It's not a casserole. I'm like, it's disgusting. It was a good idea in 1612 in Italy when it was called lasagna. It was a great idea. It was fantastic. So, the last thing I hate the most on this planet, this is easy, is Rosie O'Donnell. Do I need to rant on that? Do I need to go off and explain why I hate her? Don't care for her much. At all. So, basically, in my Superman world of kryptonite, my biggest nightmare is that someday I'll ring the doorbell and Rosie O'Donnell will be there, covered in glitter, with a casserole. I will literally fucking explode. The end of the world for me. Seriously, like, you gotta, if I went to like a gypsy or some sort of psychic, they'd be like, avoid the glitter. They'd know. They know. Trust me. Anyway, so those are the 3 things I hate. So, I got a question. This is kind of a weird little subject. Does anyone know what the #1 problem in America is? Number 1. It's easy. Glitter. Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. I don't hate how much, but this is the #1 problem in America. Anyone? No? No? Close. Very close. It's actually baby obesity. That's right. It's baby obesity. I swear to God. It's on the rise. I found this out the other day. I watch a very reliable news program. I think you've heard of it. It's called Maury Povich. Very reliable. And I mean, it's not about a paternity test or about some little girl punching her mom and going to a boot camp. It's about baby obesity. 1 in 5 is about baby obesity. And I love the confessionals. They're always just like, they're like, little Stefan's crazy. He just eats, just can't help himself. They're like, he had to lock all his food away in a cupboard. He found his father's welder. Now we have to bury the food in the backyard. I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? It's like, he's 2, he outweighs his 4 sisters. I'm just like, oh my God. Here's a thought, little tip. If you want him to cut some calories, don't give him a bag of flour before bed. Just a little calorie cutter. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but I don't know. You know, that's the thing too that's funny is like every baby is at one time kind of like chunky, but I don't know how they get to the point where they're like a thing from Dimension X, like in the middle of something's stomach named Crane, because that's like basically what I'm seeing. It's like this crazy like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man like knocking his brothers and sisters down and shit. It's just like running the whole house and just like kicking toys over. And those docu-cams are just frightening. I'm just like, oh my God. You know. Anyway, so baby obesity is a #1 problem. I might try this next joke. This one's okay. You guys, anyone here watch a lot of On Demand? No? Yeah. Okay, well, thank God. It's available. It's out there. It's the 21st century. Anyway, I've been watching a lot of HBO On Demand. I've been watching a lot of Sopranos. That's a great show. And I don't get like enough like Cosa Nostra in my life, so I have to go back to like season 4 and 5 and whatever. Really love Tony Soprano. Someone the other day told me I looked exactly like him. And I know exactly what they're talking about. They said, you look like a black Tony Soprano. I was like, I know what you're talking about. So, I was wearing a big coat. Anyway, I'm now going to just try, as a comedian, it's hard to do impressions, but I'm going to try and do for you my Tony Soprano impression. Here it is. It's a little rough. Isn't that pretty much the whole show? I mean, I love it. I mean, he's a method actor, but it's just all like really frustrated in his breathing. I mean, I don't know. He could have a heart attack. I know you know that, but anyway. You know what would be the most frustrating thing on that show with the heavy breathing is AJ. Right? That kid. Can you imagine that kid taking over your mafia throne? AJ? Really? You guys know who AJ is? He's like the biggest dunce on the whole planet, literally. And that's like the heir of Tony Soprano. Like, if AJ was my kid, we'd have a long walk in the woods, okay? And it'd just be like, it's been fun, son, but we're gonna adopt. Anyway, so that was my Tony Soprano impression. So, people doing a lot of Christmas shopping? No. No? Good. Everyone online? Good. Good. Don't support this town. Well, you gotta get out and you gotta be shopping, you know? Like, again, Kirkwood Mall's bumping, I know that, and towards the rush it gets a little crazier. Here's a little Christmas stunt I want to do, so everyone can have a little conversation this year. I think I'm going to do this on the 23rd, maybe Christmas Eve. I'm going to go down to the south entrance of Kirkwood, take some Vaseline, put it all over my body, completely naked of course, run full blast all the way through the mall. Like just gel, body flame, just everyone's just losing their mind, like, oh my God, what's this guy streaking for? This is crazy. But really determined, just determined, right? By the time the cops show up to taser me, I'm going to find the most frightened patron there, most convinced. I'm going to run up to him, I'm going to grab him, I'm going to say, what year is it? The day, the year. And then I'll go to jail. Can you imagine how great of a holiday story that would be? Right? We're going to be like, Christmas Eve and the snake asked me what year it was. He must have been a time traveler. They'll be talking about that for years. You just changed someone's life. Seriously. Everybody needs that Terminator 1 Kyle Reese moment. You know, they're just like, maybe? Huh. It's like, why the fuck else would he do that? Anyway. So, right? Right? Looking for cameras and shit. But, yeah, I think about lots of crazy shit because I have lots of free time on my hands working for Verizon, daydreaming. And one of my big daydreams is that someday I'm gonna settle down and like have a family. And it's a wild one, it's crazy. Have some kids, and I figure with those 5 kids I'm gonna have, the wife's gonna get like rights to the first 4 names, because like women, they just don't let you pick the names. But she'll give me maybe number 5. She'll be like, well, we'll check that out, okay? So just imagine those family introductions. You're just like, this is my lovely wife. These are my 5 beautiful children. Jonathan, Emily, Tyler, Margaret, and Dracula. That's right. That's my boy. Best one in the group, Dracula. Gotta love him. I mean, Imagine those conversations around the dinner table if he was really an overachiever. You're just like, John, why can't you be more like your brother Drac? Man, he's amazing. He's an honor student. He's going into medicine, hematology. He's eccentric with animals and bats and wolves and shit. Run the 100 and 0 flat. He's amazing. Be more like Drac, right? Drac's amazing, you know? I also figured too, because it's like, you know, like all the big vampire craze, just so popular right now. I swear to God, like Blue's Clues just added a vampire on their show. They're like, I don't give a fuck, put him in there. We need a vampire. Kids are loving vampires. It's just like, on Blue's Clues, like, get it in there. It's gonna work. You know what I mean? But also, here's another dream. I someday hope to have a grandson, and Dracula carries on that legacy. His name will be like Lestat or Vlad or some shit, right? And we'll be sitting atop a mountain in 2066 in Mega City, North Dakota. Just paint a picture. And I'll be like, boy, I remember the days when marijuana was illegal. And Facebook was free. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm Jeff. Merry Christmas.
Seriously, one cigarette, that's it. Before you go out there, I just want to remind you, in case you didn't know, in case you forgot, everyone here is getting a half-price drink voucher, or no, excuse me, half-price appetizer, and 2-for-1 drink voucher for Peacock Alley. You're getting a voucher. You're getting a voucher. Everyone's getting a voucher. Oh, I'm the over. It's the closest I'm gonna get. So, yes, go out, get some concessions, check out the local art, bring some home to impress your friends. See you back here in 5 for the elementary playground silence at Stefano. See you in 5.